Hello and welcome to Granada Reports Live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, on the programme this evening.
We want to be safe while we're out. The calls for action amidst a series of reported drink spikings.
I was thinking about the fact that someone had seen me at the bar standing alone and thought, yeah, I'm going to drug her.
What will be in the red box tomorrow and what will it mean for the northwest?
The unusual ingredient helping turn Ali's homemade jewellery into a successful business.
And I'll be in Liverpool's Albert Dock to meet the man planning to row this thing 3,600 miles across the Atlantic to raise awareness of mental health.
Yeah, all that still to come, but we start tonight with that boycott of nightclubs in the northwest amidst concerns around the number of so-called spiking incidents.
The latest reports come from Preston, but there have been almost 200 cases across the country over the past 2 months.
Yeah, and Girls' Night In is a national campaign, and in Liverpool this evening and then again tomorrow in Manchester, students will be staying at home in protest and calling for more to be done to keep them safe on a night out.
It comes after a string of reports of women blacking out in clubs, believing their drinks had been tampered with or that they had been injected with a needle.
Tasha Kachiri has tonight's first report.
Going out and having a good time is a rite of passage for students across the UK. But now many say they don't feel safe.
The idea of thinking that someone saw you just existing by yourself and decided, yeah, that's a perfect person that I'm going to try and drug, has just been the most uneasy thing to think about this entire time.
Emily's life changed on a night out 3 weeks ago. The second-year student is among a growing number of young women who reported having drinks spiked or even being injected in clubs.
It started tasting really acidic and it just genuinely tastes like someone had put bleach in my drink, and I was like, oh, this is a bit weird. I mentioned it to my friend and passing comment, my water tastes really weird. A few minutes pass and we're just talking, dancing, and my friend looks me dead in the eye and goes, why is your drink fizzing? Bearing in mind I had gotten still water with ice, and I look down and my drink is fizzing almost like someone had put a Barocca in it, and instantly it clicked in my head that I'd been spiked.
She says it's become a normal occurrence among her friends and is joining a boycott of nightclubs in protest tomorrow, organised by Serena Gemmett in Manchester.
I know so many people who have been spiked personally. You just see them constantly on kind of your social media. It's terrifying. I genuinely had I was shaking for hours the other day because I was just so terrified of getting stabbed in the back. And it was daylight, probably 2 o'clock. One of my friends literally messaged me being I just kind of broke down crying to my flatmate. I literally refused to go out.
The women we've spoken to say they want action, not just words.
We're not going to stand for it, and that they do need to up security or something like that. Just anything really, just to make people feel safe.
I think the boycott will achieve more security in the fact that people just want to go out and enjoy themselves a lot more than going out and actually being feared.
I understand, obviously, they can't really prevent who's going to their bars and who's going to their clubs, but then they need to take the kind of upper hand and try and prevent it all they can.
There's lots of advice on how to avoid being spiked, but Emily believes this shouldn't be up to women to protect themselves.
We shouldn't be telling people to change their actions in order to try and avoid being drugged. What we should be telling people is that men do not spike the drink of women. Do not go out with the intention of drugging someone else. If you want to tell people on how to avoid getting spiked, you need to tell people not to spike people.
Merseyside Police's Crime Commissioner says spiking will be taken seriously.
As far as I know, we're not seeing many incidents here, but obviously one is too many, and that's always the response that we will have. So if anybody has experienced anything, I would absolutely encourage them to report it. I'm assured that the police are taking it very seriously, so any incident we will investigate and do the best with it.
For now, it'll be a quiet last orders for many bars while students stay away until they feel safe to come back. Tasha Kachiri, ITV News, Manchester.
Well, in a statement, Bev Hughes, the Deputy Mayor of Greater Manchester, said nobody should be made to feel threatened, unsafe or intimidated, and Greater Manchester Police worked hard to keep people safe.
Well, she added that a hard-hitting campaign was being developed to challenge behaviours and attitudes and prevent sexual violence and harassment, and that the nighttime economy advisor for Greater Manchester has offered to meet with the organisers of the Manchester protest.
Well, earlier I spoke to Lee Lynch, the owner of Liverpool's Red Door Bar, and asked him for his reaction to these reports about women being spiked.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely disgusting. It's sickening, really, you know, to think that this is what young women have got to face when they go out in the northwest. It's not good now.
Reports of cases in Manchester, Liverpool, Preston, cities with large student populations. Would you welcome more surveillance in clubs and bars, for example?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I know that some of the larger cities in the northwest have got excellent CCTV now, but I think some of the venues probably need to update theirs. Yeah, we're quite lucky. Our CCTV is very up to date and real high quality. So there isn't much space within our venues that isn't covered, you know. But I know that unfortunately there are some venues out there that haven't invested as much as we have, you know.
Yeah, and on that point, Lee, I mean, what do you make of calls for those who work in the nighttime economy to be doing more? Many will say, look, it's not good enough just to assume somebody has had too much to drink on a night out and you wash your hands of the responsibility by turfing them off the premises.
No, well, it totally is our responsibility. That's our number one priority is public safety. And anyone who is a DPS now knows that the responsibility does lie with them and their staff and their teams, their security teams. So I think the local councils, they do put that onus on us, but unfortunately there are a lot of rogue operators out there that just feel they need to not follow the rules.
And what do you mean by rogue operators? Can you give us examples?
People that just don't meet the standards, people that just, you know, take the rules as they're given to us and think, well, some I will obey, some I won't. And unfortunately, a lot of it comes down to cost.
And what do you make of the nightclub boycotts taking place in Liverpool tonight, Manchester tomorrow? Weeknights do tend to be student nights, don't they? I guess it does go to show how seriously students are taking this.
I think it's fantastic, yeah. You know, I think that we should be speaking out about this behaviour and we should be highlighting it and educating certainly it seems to be the younger generations, the 18 to 30s, that we do need to educate them of these dangers, and we do need to make a bit more of a fuss about what's going on so that people are more aware and they can make more informed choices about where they choose to go.
And just finally, Lee, I mean, as somebody who works in the nighttime economy, as somebody who owns a bar, I mean, what would your message be to those largely young women who may be very scared this evening when it comes to going out with their friends?
Again, you know, just try and be a bit more vigilant with you and your friends and not leave drinks unattended. If you go into the toilet or go into the dance floor, make sure that somebody is watching your drinks. And ultimately, you know, if ever you do feel in danger or nervous or somebody may be giving you a funny feeling, then please, you know, speak to a member of the teams. But, you know, that's what we're here for. As a DPS, like I said before, it's our responsibility to look after you and make sure that you're safe and that you get home safe.
Lee, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, well, if you're worried about this issue or anything around that, then you can go to our website where there's lots of advice to find out how to tell if your drink has been spiked and how to help if you think someone's been drugged. That's all at itv.com/Granada.
Well, next, families who lost loved ones in the Manchester Arena attack say there were failings by MI5 that need to be addressed. An officer from the security service has been giving evidence at the public inquiry today.
And at the end of proceedings, a note from the families was read to the court. Our correspondent Amy Welsh has been following developments today and joins us live now. Amy.
Well, today, Witness J continued their evidence from behind a specially built wooden box in a courtroom packed with the families of those who died. That is because it is of the utmost importance that Witness J's identity is protected. And today, lawyers representing the families expressed their frustration at how they have been failed by the security services. In a statement read by John Cooper QC on behalf of the families, they addressed Witness J, saying, "We urge you on behalf of those that were murdered on that night to fully cooperate with the inquiry in those closed sessions and to be humble, accountable and fully open with the inquiry legal team and do not fail us again." Well, today the inquiry heard more about the decision not to stop Salman Abedi at Manchester Airport 4 days before the attack. The inquiry heard how he travelled out to Libya with his family, but that he returned on his own with just some hand luggage. And the inquiry heard that if he had been stopped, it may have put him off carrying out his plot. Instead, he went on to buy a SIM card, to get on a bus, to get a taxi in an attempt to stay off the grid. But that wasn't picked up by MI5 because he wasn't a priority. Indeed, he hadn't been a subject of interest for them since 2014. And although a meeting had been scheduled to look at him again, that meeting wasn't to take place until the 31st of May. And by then, of course, it was too late.
And Amy, the rest of witness J's evidence will be heard in secret.
That's right. There were lots of questions which witness J was unable to answer because those answers may be deemed to place national security at risk. They include 2 pieces of intelligence that MI5 received in the months leading up to the bombing that weren't fully appreciated at the time, but that are now deemed to be highly relevant. 3 weeks of closed hearings will start on Monday, when witness J will give more evidence, and when we'll also hear from 13 other witnesses whose evidence is deemed to be highly sensitive, but neither the press, the family's lawyers, or the families themselves will be in court to hear what they have to say.
OK, Amy, thank you.
Right, well, tomorrow sees one of the big events of the political calendar, one that pretty much affects all of us. It is, of course, that big red box, the budget.
Yeah, but some major funding announcements, including on buses and trams in Greater Manchester, have already been made.
And our political correspondent, Leisha McNally's been telling us that some are unhappy with the pre-budget briefing.
That's right, Vicky, and some have even wondered what the actual point of tomorrow's budget speech is, given that most of it seems to have already been announced. We've had no fewer than 16 different press releases over the last few days about issues such as health and transport funding, and overnight, Rishi Sunak confirmed that they'll end the public sector pay freeze. Positive news, says the Treasury, signs that the economy is getting back on track. But one man who really isn't happy is the MP for Chorley, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, who's also the Speaker of the House of Commons. He's hit out strongly at the government today, not because of what was in their plans, but where they were announced. He says that by briefing journalists about what's going to be in the budget before it's said formally before Parliament, the Treasury has ridden roughshod over MPs.
But once again, this House will not be taken for granted. It is not right for everybody to be briefed. It's not more important to go on the news in the morning. It's more important to come here. Let's get this message across. These are the elected members that represents this United Kingdom. It is not done through Sky TV.
So, Leisha, some anger there from Lindsay Hoyle about how this is being done. But what should we be listening out for here in the North West tomorrow?
Well, this is really a tale of 2 budgets. On the one hand, you've got the Chancellor keen to keep the Conservative promise of balancing the books. But on the other hand, you've got the Prime Minister, who is elected to many red wall end seats on the back of the levelling up agenda. And to deliver on that promise, going to have to spend money. So I think tomorrow will be quite telling in terms of which way the balance will tip. And while we probably won't get the full detail of the government's levelling up plan, that's coming in the levelling up white paper, we will hear how much money there'll be to actually deliver on that plan. So which departments are treated generously tomorrow could be quite a big clue in terms of future projects such as Northern Powerhouse Rail. And of course, the other reason we should all care about the budget is that the cost of living is going up. And as one economist warned me, what we've heard already this week about the national living wage can only go so far in the face of inflation, tax rises, and other budget challenges.
This is one of the challenges where government policy can pull against itself in different areas. So the rise in national minimum wage is hugely welcome. That's going to be a huge impact for a lot of employees. But we've also seen things like the removal of the temporary £20 uplift to universal credit over the last few weeks. And those 2 things aren't going to be able to offset each other. So there's around 6 million people who receive that £20 uplift. There's only around 2 million people on the living wage. So there's a big difference there.
So the big question is, does Rishi Sunak have something else to offer tomorrow to offset this? Well, chancellors do usually keep back a rabbit or 2 to pull out of their hat come budget day. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Alicia McNally reporting there. Well, more of the day's news, and the former Everton manager, Walter Smith, has died at the age of 73. Smith was in charge of the club for 4 years between 1998 and 2002. The former Scotland and Rangers manager also had a brief spell as assistant to Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United in 2004, where they won the FA Cup. Both clubs have paid tribute, with Everton calling it a very sad day for football.
Arriva buses across the northwest could come to a standstill this weekend after around 2,000 drivers voted overwhelmingly for industrial action in a row over pay. The Unite Union says staff are likely to reject a wage increase offer. Arriva says its drivers are amongst the highest paid in the region and is making alternative plans for passengers.
The Douglas Promenade refurbishment has been hit with further delays. The newly appointed infrastructure minister has said the work is now likely to continue into next year. This is after complications with the promenade's tram line needing further maintenance than expected. Work started over 3 years ago in 2018 and has caused continued disruption in the island's capital.
And the Hollywood star Hugh Grant has donated £10,000 to the founder of a Burnley charity that provides free plumbing and heating for the elderly and vulnerable. Plumber James Anderson, who founded charity DEFA, says he had to look twice before believing the star had made the online donation, as you would. And the charity's already helped more than 19,000 families.
Still to come tonight.
Packing a punch, the father and son using their experience to help families affected by addiction.
And after a cloudy start, we saw sunny breaks developing, again very mild for the time of year. Things changing through the next couple of days. I'll have more on that later in the programme.
And over to Mary now with the details of the ITV News at 6:30.
Coming up in the programme, the public sector pay freeze will end next year. Millions of teachers, police officers and soldiers will get a raise. With prices rising fast, ministers admit they may still be worse off. The students staying at home in protest at a surge in reports of drinks being spiked. And we meet the man who made the biggest of miniature railways. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Well, next, to the Liverpool boxer who's using his own experience of addiction to help others. Former British super bantamweight champion Jazza Dickens grew up with his father being addicted to drugs.
Well, now the pair are working together to run a weekly boxing workshop to help other families affected by substance abuse. Our sports correspondent David Chisnell went along to one of the sessions.
Father and son having fun. These are happy days for Jazza Dickens and his dad Colin. But that's not always been the case for the Liverpool boxer, who grew up with a parent addicted to heroin.
So what was your relationship like with your dad when he was an addict?
The lows of being in a life of addiction are very, very low. There's shame, there's fear, really hard to break out of it, and it's not many people do get to break out of it. If all I've ever known is my parents as an addict, I know him as an addict, you know what I mean? When he gets clean, that's when I didn't know him.
It's 12 years this week since Colin last took drugs. His decision to get clean came after being injured in a house fire.
By this time, Jazza had moved out of my home. My mum had died. I'm in the house, in my mum's house, near that house fire. I can remember being in hospital for 3 days, crying, thinking what else was going to happen to me.
Well, after growing up with an addict, for Jazza, getting to know his dad off the drugs took some adjusting to.
That was tough, that was challenging. I went to meet him one day in town and I walked past him, this close, walked past him because I didn't recognise him. Just didn't recognise him physically. He put this weight on and I didn't know him.
I was a different person. James didn't know me clean. He didn't know me in recovery. And we used to meet up every Sunday and we'd go and have a game of snooker. And we'd just bond over the snooker. And the relationship was getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Boss, that is your all here once again.
Jazza and Colin are now using their experiences to help other families who've also been affected by addiction. With the help of the charity Maverick Stars, they're now running Jazza in the Community, which is an 8-week project using boxing to reconnect parents and their children.
All they know is that they want a relationship, but some people don't know how to get a relationship. One day a week on a Sunday, these come here and they engage in activities and just family time.
The magic is them being in this room together for the 8 weeks. Just bring them close together. I'm going to share a bit about my past, my addiction.
Well, we were allowed to attend one of the sessions on the understanding that we wouldn't show any of the faces of those taking part. One of the parents, who we're calling Sarah, says the project is making a big difference.
How important are these sessions?
I've obviously suffered through addiction. Based on that, like, my children were taken off me and put with family. I've now got unsupervised contact with my son through getting clean. And as this project opened, the first week was my unsupervised contact with him. So it really helped us bond as a family. It's great support here. Both Jazz and Colin know what we've been through, because they've been through it themselves. It's like a little family community type thing.
As a top boxer, Jazza has roped in former boxing world champion Tony Bellew and UFC's Molly McCann to make special guest appearances. However, he says the real star is his dad.
There's no words to say how proud I am of him. I'm just very, very grateful and very blessed to have him.
Well, after all the pain caused by addiction, this dad and lad now have the pleasure of being closer than ever before. David Chisnell, ITV News, Liverpool.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that they are both stars, father and son, packing a punch, shining a light on such an important topic.
They certainly are. Well done, Jazza, and your fantastic dad as well. Well, next tonight we're meeting a woman who's turned her hobby of making jewellery and keepsakes into a successful business.
Yeah, an interesting one, this one. Ali Hawthorne from Wirral started making the products at home after what she called a hellish year of lockdowns.
Yeah, I'm sure many parents would identify with her when she says that she wanted to reclaim her identity after spending all her time looking after her 4 young children.
But it is what's included in her creations which really sets them apart.
Yeah, this is fascinating stuff. Our Merseyside correspondent Adi Bonner has been to meet her.
Ali Hawthorne says she's always been a creative person. The mum of 4 spends her evenings in her conservatory making little keepsakes and personalised gifts. But as well as resin, they're made from another, more unusual ingredient: breast milk.
I thought it would be nice to make something for myself to commemorate a year of breastfeeding twins. Because I was so proud that we managed to get that far, especially during lockdown. You know, it was really hard time for everyone. So I looked into how to do it and decided to give it a go.
When Ali posted her first creation online, she started getting requests from people wanting their own. She now has regular deliveries of breast milk from people all around the country and has expanded into including hair and even ashes.
There's some really lovely pieces, and people, I mean, I understand it's really not for everyone. Some people find it gross and disgusting, but for the people who do like it, it means such a lot that it's so worthwhile doing. It's something that they can cherish, something they can keep hold of, something that's just nice to sort of have.
Ali spends a lot of time talking to her customers to make sure each handmade keepsake is individual to them. And with so much experience of breastfeeding, she thinks it's worth having something to remember.
Why not celebrate something like that? It's something so important. You know, every journey is so different, every breastfeeding journey. Time goes so fast, everything just becomes such a distant memory so fast. So if you've got a little treasure to hold on to remind you of those days, why not?
After a difficult lockdown with 2 newborn twins, Ali has managed to turn her hobby into a successful business.
It's something that I really enjoy doing. So if I can do something that I really like doing and sort of bring happiness and comfort to other people, why wouldn't I, you know?
Ali says those precious hours when the children are in bed help her wind down. She is a proud mum, but she has found herself again thanks to this booming business. Andy Bonner, ITV News, Wirral.
Amazing stuff. What about the twins ripping the dummy off one another?
Those twins, they look like they are lively little ones, they really do. 4 children, Ali, well done. I'm running your own business as well. Absolutely fantastic stuff.
Next, to the 62-year-old from Merseyside who clearly relishes a challenge.
Yeah, Bernie Hollywood's gearing up to row more than 3,000 miles across the Atlantic on his own.
He hopes to raise £1 million for charities, as well as raising awareness of mental health issues affecting young people.
And our reporter Tim Scott has been to meet him.
That's front. No, that's the stern, that's the rear. Bernie Hollywood sets me right about the stern and bow on his boat, the City of Liverpool. It's on show at Liverpool's Albert Dock today, but in December next year, he'll be racing it across the Atlantic.
I'm doing it in honour of my father.
my late father and my late grandfather, who actually worked in these very docks here.
In the run-up to the race, Bernie hopes to raise £1 million for charities The Samaritans and Love Rowing, as well as to raise awareness of children and young people's mental health problems.
I thought that there was a way in which we could actually open up a conversation about depression and destigmatise it in a different way, by using the creative arts and also by using adventure.
The creative arts aspect of Bernie's project can be seen in this beautiful mural adorning the boat, as well as this book for families about Bernie's adventure by local author Natalie Billing.
So the book first of all talks about the physical journey of all the things that he's going to endure physically, his hands and the sores that he's going to get, and get turfed out in the boat and all those things that we can't even imagine until you look at it in context. But also the spiritual journey, the emotional journey of being isolated at sea and how that feels.
And this is how it will feel for Bernie. The Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge is 3,600 miles long from the Canaries to Antigua. Bernie's only been rowing for 2.5 years.
It's been a shocker, really, with regards to the reality of what I'm actually taking on. But I've spoken to many solo rowers that have gone across the Atlantic, and I think really I'm in really good shape from really a sort of a mental point of view. But from a physical point of view, that's coming along nicely.
Bernie will fundraise until the race next year. Here's hoping he reaches his £1 million target. Tim Scott, ITV News, Liverpool.
Wow. Could you do that?
Absolutely not. I haven't got the stomach for that at all.
You might get a bit of peace and quiet though at night, wouldn't you, poor little Caleb?
Here's Raggy Omar with news about On Assignment, ITV's Foreign Affairs series.
Join us tonight for On Assignment. This month, ahead of Great Britain hosting the COP26 International Climate Change Conference in Glasgow next week, On Assignment looks at 3 stories with the climate emergency at their heart. James Mates returns to the Ahr Valley in Germany, which earlier this year saw the country's deadliest natural disaster for more than half a century. But has this once-in-a-lifetime flood changed hearts and minds in Germany when it comes to fossil fuels? In Morocco, Lucy Watson visits the spectacular Noor solar power field with the promise of clean, renewable energy for the people of Morocco and further afield. Finally, Rebecca Barry is in Copenhagen to visit Copenhill, claimed to be the cleanest waste-to-energy power plant in the world. That's On Assignment, tonight at 10:45.
Time for the weather now. Here's Ross, and it's rain on the way, I'm afraid.
It's chucking it down. Might as well get on with them jobs, Gary.
Wipes in the bin, though. Oh, good lad. United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, good evening. We did get some brighter breaks today. Breezy though, those winds coming up from the south, so again lifting those temperatures above the average for the time of year. Through the next few days, we're looking at further spells of rain, sometimes on the heavy side, windy as well, but again coming up from the south and again really lifting those temperatures. Quite a deep area of low pressure up towards the northwest of us at the moment. That's dominating through the next couple of days. It's this line of rain here we're watching. That's just going to stall over northern parts of the UK as we make our way through Wednesday and into Thursday, and at times that's fringing into the Granada region. Some heavy downpours in the mix there. Again though, the blustery winds are coming up from the south, so despite all of that, temperatures are holding up. For now, a dry end to the day. The breeze is coming up from the south. We'll see some holes in the cloud as we make our way overnight. But with the clouds coming and going, those winds continuing, actually really holding those temperatures up. We've got overnight lows of 14, 15 degrees. That puts the overnight lows overnight higher than the average daytime high at this time of year. So into tomorrow morning, you can already start to see that rain fringing into the Isle of Man, northern parts of our region, just fringing into Cumbria through tomorrow morning. It's going to be quite hit and miss. The further south you go, the better chance of escaping it altogether. Certainly through daylight hours tomorrow, those winds pushing it up towards the north. Again, plenty of sunshine. It's blustery though. We've got gusts of 30, 40 miles an hour as temperatures climb to highs of around 17 degrees. Now, through the later part of Wednesday and into Thursday, that rain will continue to move its way in from the west, sometimes on the heavy side, particularly overnight into Thursday morning. A warning in place over higher ground for us, gradually clearing through the day on Thursday.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather. He's doing us now.
Top fella.
Tomorrow, full coverage of the budget and what it means for all of us.
Plus the latest in our special reports on climate change. Can you eat? what you eat make a difference even.
We are back after news at 10. For now, as ever, many thanks indeed for watching. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.